Hi, welcome to the session. Today we're going to be looking at Hans Zimmer's Joker theme for The Dark Knight called Why So Serious, and how do we create that using standard Logic instruments. Why So Serious represents the Joker really well because it very successfully creates this sense of disturbing unease about it. So let's check it out. So here's our project for Why So Serious. I did a section that's about 1.5 minutes long, and here's how it sounds. So that's the track right there. You can hear that there's a lot of dissonance going on. It's got that stereo ping pong and that soft and loud dynamics to make it really, really create a feeling of unease about this song. And I think that's exactly what Zimmer meant to have with this Joker track. So let's start with the simple bass of it, and these are the viola staccato, right? That rhythm that's ongoing. And here's how that sounds. And it's got a very interesting rhythm about it, accents on every third. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So that's a really interesting rhythm as well. And let's have a listen to what we've done on the basic. I'll turn off all the effects. And okay, this viola staccato is basically under orchestral strings. Where is it? Viola staccato, which is here. That's right. And now it sounds just like that without any effects. It's a bit repetitive, doesn't have that much sort of interesting texture to it. I put an enveloper so that it doesn't have so much attack. And it brings out the rhythm of that 1 2 3 1 2 3 even more. And then I wanted some high end into it, so I put a channel EQ with 2 high humps, which is one at about 10,000.5 hertz and one is about 5,100 hertz, and it gives it a bit more high end. You can hear the accents and the air a little bit about that, and then I compressed that just to make the levels a bit more manageable. And basically I used a default one by turning it to VCA, and all these are my different settings in there. And now you can hear that you can see the gain reduction here. Now, for one of the most important things is the rotor, and that is basically a spinning sort of it's mainly used for the EVB, which is the organ. And it's a cabinet that sort of spins with speakers and the mics, and you can hear the sort of swirly sound that it gives. So it sort of emulates that swirly sound, that that stereo ping pong thing that Zimmer has done. It gives you a bit of a dissonance and makes you feel a little bit disoriented. So yeah, that's how it sounds. Now the thing is, I wanted to give it even more of that feeling of sort of dissonance about it. So I added a blues organ. I'm going to take this out. Set to blues solo. And for the roto cabinet, I matched the same settings of the roto cabinet to the roto cabinet in the violas. And this one's built into the instrument, so you just click over to roto cabinet. You don't have to add it in the effects. And you get this. So it doesn't sound particularly interesting. These are longer notes, just like that. And these are where the accents are. Now the thing is, if we put a tremolo on it, and these are the settings for the tremolo. I made it a pretty deep tremolo, but I changed the settings of the smoothing a little bit, and yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the rate as well, just to give it that 1/8 feeling. Here's how it sounds. Now that's trippy, right? It's got that sort of like weird disorienting feeling about it. And I added an enveloper just to take away the attack as well, just slow it down. So here's how that sounds. Now it really throws you off, and you add it with the strings as a background. It really gives off that vibe, which I really like. Now, the next thing that comes in, this thing just repeats itself and goes on and on. The next thing is this bass that comes in. And what I used to match it was this underbass, electric bass, picked rock bass. And I used a bass amp. In this case, I used the edgy amp. And these are the settings. And from there, I used a compressor, which was bass-like under guitars. And I just tweaked it a little bit here and there. You can check this out. And then, of course, I sent it to a reverb. And the reverb, in this case, is a space designer with one of my favorites, large spaces, warm halls. Just nice, warm, sort of not too harsh space that's not too big as well, because the song isn't particularly big. Here's how it sounds. It's got that gritty vibe about it, because if you take everything out, you still get that the dark vibe. And we added a bit more distortion with the bass amp. Yeah, a bit more evil, and the compressor just keeps the sustain going. And the thing is, I could have stopped there, but I felt that it needed a bit more body. So underneath that, we use a Yamaha grand piano, factory acoustic pianos, Yamaha grand piano, and sent the reverb quite generously as well. And you can see it's fairly low in volume, but it's got that, that gives it that dark feeling about it when mixed with the bass. It's a bit of the hammer feeling as well, which goes very well with the whole track. And that's the opening bit. Now let's go to the big bit. And it's very interesting because this song goes from quiet to loud really sort of suddenly, and loud to quiet the same as well. And it's to sort of like throw you off a little bit. You're not sure when it's coming in, it just comes in. And yeah, let's listen to that bit again. Now you got that seventh thing going. And that's from a cello, right? So we got a cello legato under orchestral strings cello legato. And the thing is, I like to send it through an amp to get that kind of sound, right? And it's under distorted all the way up because it really does sound like something turned all the way up. And of course with a generous amount of reverb as well. So you get the kind of distorted kind of sound. But to give it a bit more body as well, I use a full brass staccato, an orchestral brass, full brass staccato. Send it through a similar kind of amp under distorted, bassless boutique crunch. And here's how that sounds. So it's got a bit of the honk about it, and when you put them together, this really big siren kind of distorted siren kind of sound, which I think is really cool. Now, here's for the bass, right? I went to the ES2 and had a bass called, under synth bass called Distorted Break, which I really like. And I just put it to the rhythm like this. I'm just checking. I think I mucked around with the attack a bit. I turned it up so I didn't want to click at the start. Apart from that, it's about the same. So just check it out in the project linked below. Now here's where the real bass happens. And it's this ES2 again. And it's this bass called Real Fat. Now, Real Fat without the ARP. I'll turn that off. It just sounds like this. Really fat kind of sawy kind of bass, but with the ARP and you're just playing one single note, you get this. Quite neat. So that with the bass together, it goes like that. So you get that weight, and this one really carries the rhythm, the distorted break, right? And the rest are more, okay, this one here is one of my favorites, the European folk kit for the kind of big acoustic sounds, World European folk kit to get a big drum sound. I mixed quite a number of them from this, like toms, to a little high end a little bit. So here's how it sounds by itself. Pretty big with the bass. Here's how they sound as the rhythm. And here you need some distortion on top of it. So what I picked was EX-Test 24 instrument under guitars, electric guitars, Sunburst power chords, which has this nice thing about it. With the ARP, that's why it's going. And there's an amp as well, and it's under distorted modern classic. Now, here's how it sounds. Just a single long sustained note. Yep. Different parts of the scale play different kinds of rhythms. This is the one we went for. And underneath that, there's a Sunburst electric, just to give a bit even more distortion. And that's under electric guitar, Sunburst electric. It's playing long sustained notes as well. And send it to an amp, and this time is American Stack Distort. It's good to mix amps so that you get different tones and fill up different spaces in the whole sort of frequency spectrum, so that you get this nice big sound. And here's how this one sounds. They were fifth apart, so you get that power chord going with it. So the two guitars sound like that. And I felt like I needed more percussion, even bigger percussion, right? So I go to one of my favorites, which is Textures FX, Trailer FX1. And it gives you the kind of big sounds like this. Just to enhance the triple hit. And there's another Trailer FX1 here. This one has been sent to an amp. And it's a default amp. And these are the settings for that. And yeah, just to give it a bit of, gritty sound. But I also wanted a cleaner sound, and this Trailer FX1 doesn't have anything on it, and it sounds like this. It sounds a little bit artificial by itself, but when you put them together, they always sound great. And there's one more thing here, which is more of the high end, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen to it. Yeah, these are like snares and a bit of a tom. Under orchestral percussion, orchestral kit, and then you can see there's a bit of flamming going on here. I didn't sort of like do any fancy flamming. I just pushed this by one sort of SMT nudge. And yeah, here's how they sound together with the percussions. I'm going to take European folk kit. Yeah. And just to add a super duper low end, I like the bassist staccato under orchestral strings, bassist staccato, and some really, really low end. Yep. And to make it even bigger, I added a Trailer FX2. Also just accents. Everything together. It's really, really big. You need to control it a little bit in your mix. And yeah, that's just a repeated pattern of the same bit. And then we go back to the second section, which is same stuff here. But with the added sounds of this new section here. And I want to highlight something is that these things come in and out. They get automated in and out. So yeah, I added a tremolo violin playing a very similar pattern. Actually, you can see by the names, I just copied the viola section, and yeah, so here's how it sounds. And this is exactly the same track, violins 1 tremolo, with the whole envelope, but the same effects as the viola you see up here. And they're just in different ranges. So this one comes in and out as well. So it's kind of the high octave. If you play the strings together, so that's how you get sort of like the evolving textures, you know. You can put similar things on top of each other and sort of automate them in and out to just get different sort of evolving textures. And then in this section, you get the African kit. And this is nice for that stick percussion, World African kit. And you can see it's just this stick percussion here. Sounds like that. Yep, with a bit of reverb. And I use the ARP to play it as well. So the ARP is set to this 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern instead of live. I go sort of like this organic kind of pattern. So you get something like this. And it just goes on throughout. Now there's the buzzy picking, and this is sort of like, I'll just give you how it sounds first. So a bit like a distorted guitar, it comes in about here. All these sort of have a little automation upon their entry. And so how this one works is, it's a sculpture. I'll take out the amp and the tremolo. It sounds like this. I just picked a pluck instrument and the buzzy picking. And the thing is, I mucked around with the decay and the sustain. I just put it to full because I didn't want it to sort of die off. It's supposed to sort of go on. And I added an amp, which is a boutique retro distort. I really like this one. It sounds like that. Nice little buzz there. And I added a tremolo. And I use a deep tremolo, change the smoothing, the rate, and the phase. And here's how it sounds. It's nice to hear it evolve as well because it's a fairly organic sound from sculpture. And yeah, that's how it goes. Now, this section here, it's got some crazy sort of dissonance going on. And courtesy of Alchemy. And the soundscapes, all ambient, distorted. I was just looking through and I found Aquatic Dreamscape. And I turned it to dirty. And you get this very nice low sort of... I adjusted the attack as well, a bit of the sustain. You get this kind of sounds. So it's really sort of like painful dissonance type stuff, but it's beautiful at the same time. And I just played these long notes that didn't really match the scale, so there's a bit of more dissonance in it, like this. So it gets bigger and more dissonant as it goes along. And then it just cuts itself off right here. Now, the thing that goes with it and makes it even more disturbing and bigger is another Alchemy patch. Also under Soundscapes, under Distorted, you get Bolt Metal Pipe, and I turned it to Dirty Chaotic. And you get this really like disturbing sound as well. I'm going to play for you. And the more sounds that you have, the more disturbing they are. Just a point to note, I wanted it to really cut off, so I took out any kind of reverb effects like this acoustic reverb. I just took it out, so I turned it from on to off. Yeah, just so that it cuts off right at the end, and then you get just this. And that leads to the really big end section, which goes like this. And you can notice that on top of this section, there's this like sort of wailing guitar thing that's Aquatic Dreamscape. You just kind of hold one single note the whole way through. And yeah, all these are made up of the same things that you see here. I didn't use everything because it didn't have that big sort of a alarm horn type sound. But you do have your rhythms going on top here. Same as the start. So you have this combination. And of course this one, because it's big, you want that low end as well. And also with the African sort of wood ticking. So all the rhythmic aspects are still in, like these, all still in. And including the violins as well. And, oh, this one's viola, sorry. And yeah, and in terms of this particular viola, it's a more sort of, everything's very similar except for the channel EQ. Just very mid-rangey, boxy. Yep. And that's it. So, and there's this little shadow sweep here, which is an ES2 sound. Actually picked it up from the main settings here under Logic, Surround Textures, Shadow Sweep. And it's just this little sweep in between the notes. Sent it to a reverb as well, so here's how it sounds with everything. So that's the thing. something to pay attention to is that for long sort of drawn out sections that repeat themselves, you can have sort of evolution in textures to make it a bit more interesting, like these over here, and to bring in new elements as well, so that it doesn't get too repetitive. That's the key to this long sort of repeating mottos, repeating patterns. So yeah, and one thing I want to bring up is for the mastering this time, I added a bit of around 220 Hertz and some high-end shine, because the difference that you hear without that is just, yeah, something you want to pay attention to. I'm just take it out. And with it, just more high-end. I use a limiter as I always do. In this case, I really like Logic's new LUFS meter. I'm going to show you how it works. And that's why, okay, we're going to start it. So the integrated value is about -15, right? I kind of, yeah, like that range, -13, -15, for YouTube especially. So I turned the gain down to 3, but you can do it according to taste, right? So that's it for the mastering. I hope you learned something useful today. It's all about automating textures to get them to flow and not be repetitive. So if you like the project, you can download it at the link below. And if you like the videos, please subscribe for more. See ya.